Introducing Under Armour's Infinity High Sports Bra. Its ergonomic design is molded to support the natural movement of your body. With cord-out padding, the better breathability eliminates extra bulk without sacrificing support. And quick-dry padding is Under Armour's fastest-drying padding yet. When you're lifting heavy, running fast, and pushing yourself further than ever before, you need a bra that will help you go that extra mile and make you feel your best. Shop the Infinity High Sports Bra now at UA.com.
You're finally at that hot new spot, the one your friends keep raving about, sitting across from your date. It's going...
Another round?
Really well. And that dish you've been dying to try? Oh, it's headed your way. You can smell it, hear it sizzling fresh off that skillet as it comes closer, and served. Go ahead, enjoy. After your phone sneaks a bite first. When you're with Amex, it's not if it's going to happen, but when. American Express. Don't live life without it.
Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast.
Greetings and salutations, friends. It is Tuesday. Yes, I got that right. Off-season episode number 52. We're actually talking young players on today's show. To blow your mind, everybody. It's Fantasy NBA Today. I'm your host, Dan Bespris. Thanks, as always, for tuning in. I like to, going into each show, just continue to actually look and see if you guys are still actually, truly listening in the offseason, and you are. I still can't wrap my head around it, and I am really flattered and very grateful. Like, the growth of the show. Anyway. Thank you all. Thank you all again. Ethos Fantasy FB, Ethos Fantasy BB, Ethos Fantasy BK. Those are the three ones you got to check out. All three of our sports coverage just continuing to grow on a daily basis. I'm going to keep whacking you over the head with it throughout this NBA offseason. But, I'm at Dan Bespris on Twitter, but you guys probably already knew that. I see no reason why we need to wait much longer. Today's a crazy day for me. Can I handle it? I don't know. Wish me luck here as we dive headfirst into this. This is uncharted waters for me, people, so I hope that I will be treated with kid gloves during the next segment on, yes, my own podcast, but that's where we're at now. The host of the All-Rookie podcast here at Sports Ethos, one of my favorite guys here at Sports Ethos, and I don't know, we probably should have done this sooner, but you cover things that I actively avoid until now. The mighty William Harris, at William is Bill on Twitter. I'll spell that for everybody before this segment's done. William, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dan. It's an honor to be on the show. You know, the best fantasy basketball show of all time.
Thank you.
So, to be here, I know I made it.
You buttered me up. That's a good first move on a podcast. That's well executed. So here's the thing. And I'm going to feel free, by the way, to mock me incessantly. I give you absolute permission to do so. But I also, and something I said to you before we went on air that I want to say now for the listeners too, this is not a throwaway episode of Fantasy NBA Today because, yes, I don't know what you're about to tell me, but it's kind of cool that it's an opportunity for me and the listeners to learn together during this particular show. We're going to be covering the draft. It's 2 days away, the show airing on Tuesday. William and I recording late Monday night, just so if the dates get flip-flopped around. And this is a critical juncture in an NBA calendar year, even though everybody kind of knows that my take is I wait until we get to the very last moment before draft day and say, are any of these guys people I could even consider for my fantasy team? But it's time to actually get out in front of this a little bit. It's time to have a real foundation of knowledge on the guys we should be paying attention to. So I'm throwing you into a true hot seat here, William, in that I don't really know where these questions are going, so you got to be ready for most anything. Whether my question ends up being dumb or sharp, you need to be ready for it. And to that end, I think we just kind of start at the top and say, what do you like? Like, are there some guys you like coming into this draft that you think their games would translate from a fantasy standpoint? And if so, who are they? Maybe we'll just go one at a time. Who's your number, well, I guess it doesn't have to be your number one guy, but who's someone you really think could be an interesting fit for the NBA and for fantasy teams next year?
Well, yes, I have to start with last year's draft class, because when people come into a fantasy draft, you're going to hear a lot of talk about the rookies. Who should I pick? Et cetera, et cetera. You're going to hear 20 or 30 rookies.
Yeah.
Last year, it was a deep draft class, and there were only 8 rookies that were really fantasy relevant. So you need to narrow your search down. You really don't need to look past the lottery for your guys that are going to be fantasy relevant, no matter how talented you think they are. But my number one guy is Jabari Smith, the 6'10" forward from Auburn. I mean, he's just an incredible athlete, incredible shooter. He can do it all. He's pretty much, in my opinion, a perfect prospect. And he's expected to go to the Magic. If so, it's a perfect landing spot. And if he goes to OKC, same thing. He should succeed no matter what. In Auburn, he scored 17 points, had 7 boards, 2 assists per game, shot 42% from 3. In the NBA, I could see him having a similar path, maybe 15 points, 7 boards. And, with that shooting touch, he shot 80% from the free throw line as well. So normally when you see a 6'10" guy, there's going to be some weaknesses in his game. As far as fantasy, there's not too many. You wish he had more blocks, but, he's giving you everything else. If that's the position and stats you're looking for, Jabari Smith is my number one guy.
All right, so that sounds like a relatively well-rounded fantasy prospect, and from I know enough about rookies to know that if somebody goes first or second overall, they're likely going to be given a goodly chunk of minutes. I like what you're telling me about the 3-point percentage. That's really strong for a college athlete. I like what you're telling me about the free throw number for a bigger guy. What did he shoot from the field, though? Is there any, maybe I should ask it this way, is there any downside to Jabari Smith? What am I missing?
At Progressive, you can get 24/7 protection, even if you break the space-time continuum.
We did it! We time traveled to yesterday!
Wait, Progressive covers us 24/7, but we just created an 8-day week, and it's 24/7 coverage, not 24/8. We gotta go back.
Are you joking right now?
Shh, I'm calling them. Hi, I have a question about time travel.
Progressive offers more than a great price when you bundle home and auto. We offer round-the-clock protection, which literally means anytime. Coverage from Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers, and subject to policy terms. Bundle discount not available in all states or situations.
He shot 43% from the field.
Okay, so not outstanding there, but room to grow, I assume.
There. But he took a lot of jumpers, so that might be an area that you don't love. But with coaching, they probably will bring him in a little bit, play more in the post, and just stay out at the 3-point line and cut out those 20-foot jumpers.
Where does he fit if he ends up with the Magic? How does that team stack up if he gets added to the mix? Who's the odd man out? What does the starting lineup look like? Have you thought this thing through already?
Well, that's the question, because Jonathan Isaac is the big question mark.
Yeah, he is. Where the hell is that dude?
Right, that's what everyone in fantasy wants to know. But if Jabari Smith is taking number one, he clearly will start. He can be interchangeable with Franz Wagner, and they can play the 3 and the 4 and keep Wendell at the 5. But yeah, I mean, if Jonathan Isaac is back and healthy, Franz Wagner might be sent to the bench. I don't know.
Wow.
That's crazy to think of, right?
It's an embarrassment of riches, I guess, for young guys. I don't know how that translates to winning, but that's probably not priority number one when you're kind of rebuilding things. Okay, so William, one thing that I look at, and I want to stay on Jabari Smith a little bit longer because I'm learning these guys while we're talking about them. I'm just gonna pull up a basketball reference page so that I have any context for what we're going through here. Looks like about a little over a steal and about 1 block per game in college. There isn't a lot of stuff that he does poorly, and I feel like that's the thing you need to look for with a rookie is there anything that they could do that could sort of sag their value? It's the should I bother with someone like a Trey Young right out of the chute? And he was horrible his first 4 months in the NBA because he was shooting a high volume like 36% from the field, and he had 4.5 turnovers and these things that rookie point guard, Smith, not a point guard. I'm always talking about how the only young guys I ever really look at are the big men, because if they can actually make their free throws a little bit, they have an opportunity to just get stats without the negative impact stuff. And it sounds like, I don't know if I'm reading this right, it sounds like that's the kind of guy you think he'll be.
Right. He's probably the safest option. And, I still think his ceiling is tremendous, So he's not exactly an Evan Mobley type, but as safe as Evan Mobley was, I feel confident that Jabari Smith will be that same level of safe.
Do you think he would score more, or do you think it's going to be similar?
I think it'll be similar. Most guys came out last year. They didn't score as much, because of the transition to the league, of course, is harder. The schedule is harder. But you never know. With the Magic, they really need his three-point shooting. So if I were projected, I would definitely say around 15. He scored 17 in college, so it'll be close.
Here's a tough question. Where do you think because there's the hype train is yet to get going, but it will. Where do you think he ends up going in fantasy drafts? Any idea how high someone like that? Do you think he would get drafted inside the top 50? I'm guessing probably not, but 60, 75, something like that? Or maybe I should ask you where you'd consider taking him in a redraft league, not dynasty.
Right. That's important too. So, I'll just start with, like I said, I always go back to last year's class. Scottie Barnes was the top rookie fantasy-wise last year, and he was 66 overall. Right. So I would go somewhere in that range, 65, 75, and I think you would be safe with Jabari Smith.
Okay. Give me number 2. We'll move on to the next one.
Well, number 2, I think you'll be swinging for the fences if you go with Chet Holmgren. If he works out, you could have the best player in fantasy. He's the 7-foot forward/center from Gonzaga, averaged 14 points and 10 boards, and almost 4 blocks per game Gonzaga.
Oh, my good God.
Yeah. So that's just everything you want right there. And on top of that, 39% from 3. I mean, sounds like the perfect player, right?
How are the percentages? I haven't looked up his numbers yet, by the way. I don't want anybody to think I'm asking a leading question. I'm going in blind on this one. How did he shoot? How are his free throws? Give me all that stuff.
Right. He's 73% from 2. So that's 30% higher than Jabari Smith. Yeah. And he shot 71% from the free throw line. So a little bit less than Jabari, but
acceptable.
Pretty much all those numbers are great.
And I'm guessing he doesn't shoot that many free throws at the NBA level if you're a rook coming in. And one thing I know about Chet Holmgren, the only thing I know is that he's a string bean. He's not a thick fella yet. Right.
And that is mainly the concern with him. If it's going to take time for him to adjust to the size of the NBA, if he's going to get bullied, I think if he can, I'm sure he'll bulk up. He was 195 last in Gonzaga. He'll probably be at least 205, 210 before the season starts. And that's going to help him out. But we haven't really seen a player like Chet Holmgren before. So the range of his game could go either way, He could be Bobo, he could be Evan Mobley. So it's a huge range there.
Yeah, so that's the type of thing where there's a kind of a lot. You don't want to spend a pick that's too high because you can get somebody kind of set in stone. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, and then I want to come back to some of his numbers. But where would you take a swing on a guy like Chet Holmgren? Because you said almost 4 blocks a game?
Right, yep. That's ridiculous. But I will say in college, most of the time he was playing against guys that were a lot smaller than him.
Yeah.
In the NBA, that won't be the case, obviously. But
I got to think fouls too. Aren't you worried about fouls at the NBA level when he's that slender, or do you think he can handle himself?
I am a little concerned about his size overall, especially in his rookie season. But that's why this is a swing for the fences, because it's high risk, high reward. And around that time in the draft, you probably want to be looking at it. He's going to go second overall at worst. So you're probably going to have to get him in that same range, 70 to 80. I mean, most drafts, because of his name, he's such a polarizing prospect, he will probably go around the 50, 60 range. That's too rich for me, but I can see him going that high.
I don't think I can go that high on a rookie in almost any circumstance. I feel like there have been like maybe 3 since I've been paying close attention to basketball. Cat, Anthony Davis, and Dame, I think, are the 3 rookies I can think of that were better than that on a per-game basis. And Dame's the huge surprise there. He came out and just had a monster season. The other ones were less surprising because you looked at it and it was, big guys that have excellent percentages. And for AD, it's the huge defensive stats. And Cat, it's for, points and rebounds, things of that nature. It seems like that type of player is the one that can get over the hump. But at the same time, if this big swing hits and he does have, let's say, 2 or more blocks per game. He ain't getting 4 at the NBA level. I don't care. What he did at college, that's not happening. But, you're like automatically inside the top 100 with 2 blocks per game. You could almost do nothing else and still get there. My fear here, just from hearing what you're saying, looking at the stature, just the level of competition that the Giants shift there, I don't know if he can handle more than 24, 25 minutes a game his rookie year at the NBA level. That type of thing worries me. So I don't think I would take a shot on him inside the top 100, but am I being too conservative there?
I mean, it definitely worries me as well. It's just that name value. People are going to see Jakob Poeltl on the board and Chet Holmgren. They're going to pick Chet Holmgren.
I'm not. You know enough about me to know I'm not.
Definitely, 100%. But, the novices out there, they're going to see that name and they're going to go for it. And he's in OKC, so he's going to have no competition for minutes, really. If he was in Orlando, those minutes would guaranteed be lower. But I think with OKC, he'll be out there as much as he wants to be out there, as much as his body can handle it. So that will help.
Yeah, that's a good point. There really aren't any big men that the Thunder actually trust on that team. It's that they've just been sort of plugging and playing whoever they can get their hands on for a couple years now. Outside of the half season they played Al Horford, they really haven't had a center. I mean, forget Isaiah Roby looked great for about 2 weeks, so then they just stopped playing him for a bit. He played like 16 minutes a game, and then they played him again after that. And I don't know, when you get these guys that come into the NBA and sort of waif-like stature, it always freaks me out, especially if they're going to get thrown right into the mix. But at the same time, the fact that he does have a high field goal percentage, he's not a terrible foul shooter, and he does have shot blocking ability, it creates a floor that a lot of guys coming in wouldn't have. So I don't know, man. You can try to talk me into it, although from the tone of your voice, I don't think you're that excited about him.
I can't wait to see what happens. I don't. Don't trust it. I don't trust it. I'll say that.
But you do. It sounds like you do trust Jabari Smith, the first guy we talked about.
I definitely do trust Jabari Smith. Yes.
All right, give me number 3. Let's do 3 and see what our clock looks like here.
All right, I think you see now. I love Jaden Ivey, but I think his situation, if he goes 4th, that's going to make it a little murky. It's been talked that he could go 3rd, but to be safe, I'll go with Paolo Banchero. Another big guy. I know you love the bigger guys, so they're a little safer.
I do.
6'10", power forward from Duke. He averaged 17 points, 8 boards, 3 assists, 1 block, 1 steal per game. 34% from 3, so that's pretty good. And I think his game with the Rockets is going to be him and Jalen Green pretty much. They're going to be able to do whatever they want. Shot 73% from the free throw line, 48% from 2. So once again, that's a lot lower than Chet, but the floor is safer.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like, how about body-wise? Do you think he can handle an NBA season? Because that's the thing with Chet where I get the feeling you're not sure of it, and just hearing the numbers, I'm not sure of it.
Most definitely. He is 55 pounds heavier than Chet, so I think he should be fine.
That's like an 8-year-old.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's substantial. Okay, so you said 17, 8, and 3 with a steal and a block. Am I remembering that right? I was trying to put all the numbers in my head there. Yeah, I mean, I like that. That's 2 guys you've mentioned that have been pretty well-rounded from a forward kind of power forward spot. And if he does end up, you said you figured third to Houston, that's where you got him going?
Right. And even if he goes fourth, he should be good no matter where he goes.
I'm making you say it. Who's got the fourth pick?
The Kings.
Yeah, I know. Just something's gonna go weird there. I don't know what it's gonna be, but something weird is gonna happen with Sacramento.
Oh, you know it.
Always they find a way. Although I guess McNair's been a little bit less out of left field with his stuff so far. Okay, so if his stat set is relatively similar, lower threes, lower free throw percent than Smith, slightly better field goal percent. I've pulled up the numbers now, so I'm not going exclusively out of memory. I'm not that good. But the other stuff is almost a carbon copy. It seems like Smith has the better upside because of the three-point shooting. Does the passing favor Paolo and the field goal percent maybe by a little bit? Although I get the feeling that Smith could shoot the ball better from the field if all of his shots weren't from downtown. So I don't know. Are you? Listen, again, I'm sort of thinking out loud. So I know people listening to the pod are like, Dan, get to the damn point. You got everybody's just kind of. I hope everybody's like thinking with me on this. So my question then, after my verbal diarrhea of a moment ago, Smith over Paolo then based on the numbers I've looked at here from their college, and again, it doesn't translate perfectly, but maybe by a couple of rounds at the fantasy level?
I think it could be closer than that because
okay.
I do think their production could be similar. I feel safer with Jabari, but Paolo's going to be in the same great situation. You know, I just think Jabari's a little bit better of a player, but still the teams that they land on are going to allow them to both flourish and be the one, if not one, the number two guy on the team. So, I mean, I had Jabari averaging 15 and 7. I could see Paolo averaging 15 and 8 with, lower percentages on three, but pretty much the similar stats. He's a bit better rebounder.
You got me thinking a little bit. It's really, I said, people listening to this show, I don't know if everybody listening to this episode heard my early offseason episode where I said I needed to soften my stance on rookies a little bit because for a long time it was just like a blanket, don't do anything with them. And now It's really more of a, okay, look, you can trust some bigger rookies. If you can find some big men that are not going to blow a hole in your percentages, they have a way of getting to fantasy value because they don't have that anchor stat. The one that keeps the boat in the dock, the high turnovers or the terrible free throw or the terrible field goal percent. If you can find a big guy who, and I know these aren't like traditional centers the way that Holmgren was, who we mentioned a moment ago, but, decent field goal percent. If the free throw was a little bit higher for Paolo, that would be something I'd look at harder. I guess with him, and with Houston, that's going to be a free-for-all out there this year. They got rid of Christian Wood, which is going to be great for everybody left behind. I'm just sort of, again, kind of thinking out loud here. Is any other stat going to be great enough to counterweight the low three-pointers and the not terrific free throw percent? Because it did look like he got to the line a little bit more often as well than some of the other guys we talked about.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I think it will be mainly points and rebounds. Because his passing is not really up to the level of what you're going to search out for in fantasy. It's just the fact that he's going to have so much opportunity. Like you said, with Christian Wood gone, it's just going to be a gaping hole there. Alperen Sengun is there. But
yeah, he is. That's, by the way, that's hype train guy, like number A1 going into next season. We already all know he's going to be on every analyst's board. And his ADP is going to go from like 95 to 30 between September and October next year. Just get ready for it, everyone. But yeah, sorry to interrupt. Back to Paolo.
No, 100%. He's another guy kind of like Chet. You're going to see that name and want to grab it. But, and with the Rockets, they were frustrating last year with him because we did want to see Alperen play, and they brought him in easy. So that is a concern with Paolo. They could bring him in easy. I don't think so, but you just never know.
Okay. Give me one more name, because it sounded like you wanted to talk Jaden Ivey and you stopped yourself. It sounds like then you think he's going to Sacramento?
I think he is. But he could go to the Rockets too, and that'll throw a wrench in things a little bit. But
right.
If you want me to, everyone knows the top 4 guys for the most part. If you want me to give you a guy to look out for that should be safe, I'm gonna have to go with Dyson Daniels.
I don't have any idea. I have no clue who that is. None.
Okay, think Josh Giddey with a little bit more offensive touch. He's not as good as a passer, but I think he can be in that vein. If he can play the point or the 2, if they have him at the point guard, which is the reason why I think he's moving up on draft boards, I think he can have a season like Josh Giddey.
Where could he end up, you think?
They're saying definitely top 8. So anywhere between 4 and 8. I would lean toward 6 and 8, but yeah.
So without digging too deep, I want to. I'm looking at my clock here, and I want to get to a couple of hard fantasy questions on these players. Something that I know you and I have talked about at times, and I've talked about it on the show many times, is value. Do you think any of these guys, or even somebody you haven't mentioned yet, including Ivy, by the way, you can throw him into the mix, do you think any of them end up as values on draft day? Because we did actually see that with a couple of rookies this last season. Scottie Barnes was drafted in generally like the 110 range. He was better than that. Evan Mobley was going around 85, 90. He beat that by a little bit, not by a ton. He started fast and kind of slowed as the year went on. It's a long season. But there were a couple of rookies that beat their ADPs this year. These guys we're talking about, there's a lot of name power there. And I know I don't know much about them, but I have, jokes aside, I have heard the 4 main names. I know those names. I don't know what they've done or where they're going, but I know the names. The last guy you mentioned, Daniels, I actually had not heard that name before. So that's real. But because even I know the names, that means that there is name power there, and there's going to be some buzz. They'll go earlier than if they weren't rookies, because we all like to try to find the next shiny thing. But are any of those guys not, you think, going to go early enough? Who might be of value on fantasy draft night?
Right, that's a great question. Like you said, those names, I don't know if it's just this season or what, but these guys' names are everywhere. So if you want someone that you could probably get a great value on, I would probably say either Mark Williams or Jalen Duran. Both are centers. You heard of either one of those, Dan?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. Tell me more.
Okay, Mark Williams is the 7-foot center from Duke, and I'll just give you the good stuff. He averaged 3 blocks per game. And he's not, his pounds are not in the 100s. He weighs 240 pounds.
Yeah, if you're in the same century mark as me, that's probably not enough.
Right. And Jalen Duran, pretty much they're similar. Mark Williams is a little bit more talented offensively. Jalen Duran may have a higher ceiling. He was a 6'11" center from Memphis, and he averaged 2 blocks per game. And both have crazy 7'5" plus wingspans.
Whoa.
And they're both projected to go in the top 13. So those are 2 centers. And like you said, you get around 2 blocks per game, you don't even have to do much else to be fantasy relevant. And I think a lot of people are projecting Mark Williams to go to the Hornets. I mean, that could be a perfect landing spot for a good value guy.
Okay. You've got my attention now. You've got my attention, William. 2 blocks per game. How's his free throw percent?
Let me see. Oh, well, that's a tough one right there.
Dan. Give me a number over
these are straight centers, but Mark Williams' free throw percentage.
Give me something over 70, and you might have my attention.
72.7%.
Oh my goodness!
But as a freshman, it was 54%.
Uh-oh.
What do you believe? What do you believe?
I'm gonna go with recency bias on that one, and say you made the adjustment there. That's actually okay. So here's the thing: we're having a laugh, but this is the kind of guy that does tend to be that interesting name, because he doesn't have the obvious anchor stat. Huge field goal percent. Now I'm pulling him up so I can talk with you about him without sounding like a total buffoon. 11, 7.5, 72% from the field, so he was playing right in front of the bucket. Didn't bother to take a three-pointer. Terrific! I don't need my true center to shoot a three ball. I don't need you messing up your field goal percent. If I'm going to draft you as a rookie, I want you to be someone who helps me in the things that your position should be. So, I mean, if let's say he gets like 1.3, 1.4 blocks per game at the NBA level, that combined with, I don't know, 9 and 8, that's actually enough to put you in that kind of Larry Nance like fan club with blocks instead of steals of 80, 90 range. Someone that maybe gets drafted in the 120, 130 neck of the woods. Who was the other one you talked about? I already forgot his name.
Jalen Duran, the 6'11" big man from Memphis. And he's 250 pounds.
Oh, that is big.
Yeah.
He's got me by a couple.
He's chiseled, so he doesn't seem big.
250 is, yeah, I mean, I guess it just coming out of college, you expect a lower number.
Right.
Let me pull up his stuff here, too. All right, 12 and 8, 2 blocks, 63% at the free throw line. So that one is a little bit more concerning. Man, you might have me on Williams. You might have sold me on one.
Yeah, and especially if he goes to Charlotte. So look
Charlotte.
out for that.
Give me Charlotte. Although Mike D'Antoni's definitely going small ball if he gets hired out there. Since
that is true.
what did we hear? Was that yesterday or today that Kenny Atkinson turned the gig down? Mm-hmm. Still, I mean, when you're that big and you block shots and you hit your free throws and you shoot a ridiculous percentage from the field, you don't need 30 minutes. You can get it done in 22, 23. So, yeah, you know what? Congratulations. You might have sold me on a rookie to watch on today's show, and we'll see if that carries over. I mean, yeah, obviously the landing spot is a big deal. What do people need to know about Jaden Ivey before I let you go?
Oh, Jaden Ivey, if you look at his tape, to me, he reminds me of Ja Morant. So he just has to land in the right landing spot. A lot of people are comparing him to Donovan Mitchell as well. I mean, his attack to the rim is just ridiculous. And normally when you think of a player like that, the three-point percentage is not good. But he shot 36% from three. Oh. So he just needs to get his assist up if he's going to be a true point guard. And he's going to have that correct landing spot. Like we said, if he goes to the Kings, it's going to be a little sketchy with him and De'Aaron Fox. But Jaden Ivey's talent is there. He's my second ranked player in this draft.
So he's got that kind of star factor sort of thing that folks like to talk about.
Definitely.
All right, you're officially off the hot seat. You want to shift over to a cooler spot. At William is Bill. By the way, I probably should have asked you this a million times. I just call you William. Would you rather I call you Bill?
I like William. It works.
There you go.
Either one.
He is the host of the All Rookie podcast here at Sports Ethos. He tracks rookies from the day they're drafted all the way through the season. If you want to know how the young guys are doing, we've got a show for that here at Sports Ethos. Again, it's the All Rookie podcast. He will be tagged on any tweeting we do about this. He'll be tagged in the description of the show. Again, it is at William is Bill on Twitter. I think, are you and David hosting draft coverage in a couple of days too?
We will on YouTube.
There we
Sports
go.
Ethos.
Love it.
Can't wait.
So you guys can follow that. That'll be some live draft coverage here at Ethos on the YouTube page. William Harris, thank you, my man.
Thank you so much, Dan. It was an honor. One more name if you want to look for.
Sure.
Keegan Murray. I'll leave that with you.
All right. If you want to know, you know what? That's your teaser. If you want to know more about Keegan Murray, you said?
Keegan Murray. There you go, from Iowa.
I can repeat the name. I can parrot you just fine. You got to follow him on Twitter. You can talk to William about all these guys on social media. Again, William, thanks, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Dan.
He might have gotten me. It's William Harris. One of the best, man. One of the best. Please do give him a follow. Least you could do from all the stuff that he can actually bring your way over the course of this off season and then into next season and through the year. He might have gotten me. You guys know I've said I need to soften my stance on this stuff. I mentioned that earlier in this very podcast. And there's a certain high floor type of rookie that I do think is worth exploring. Now, we got to wait and see where some of these folks end up. And the more that I stare at my Twitter feed, the more I see that it seems like OKC is pretty well locked in on Chet Holmgren. So if they do take him, they'll probably play him as much as he can without fouling out. So maybe there's some upside there as well. based on can his body handle it. I don't know that they're going to throw 32 minutes a game at him for fear that it'll just snap the poor guy in two. But I don't know. You give me those blocks, the rebounds, the field goal percent, a free throw that's not complete disaster territory, you've got yourself a sneaky big man in the rookie class that probably outperforms ADP. But again, we'll know a lot more after Thursday, where these guys are ending up, what their roles might be. Could be on a team where Rook might start, come off the bench, how many folks are in front of him, all that stuff is going to come into play. But some really interesting names to watch, some of the big names there you got from William as well. What's coming up on the show? I honestly don't know. I really don't know how the schedule is going to line up. I'm hoping that either tomorrow or possibly Thursday before the draft, we'll have a chance to talk to our Grizzlies show host, also a gentleman that's been diving headlong into the NBA draft coming up. That's the great David Williams. If not, we'll get him on at some point thereafter. And a lot of it has to just do for me with when I'm driving back and forth between home and young child scholastic institutions. I'm a shuttle bus driver and podcast host these days. You parents of multiple kids, logistics never line up quite right. But we'll try to piece that stuff together. Worst case, we got more teams to break down. And before you know it, it'll be free agency because we're 2/3 of the way through June already. Anywho, that's about it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed getting to hear me in a true non-expert role. That's what it sounds like for me to be learning things on air along with you guys. So, yeah, I probably sounded a little bit stupid at times during today's show, and I'm okay with that. I'm human. I'm an expert in fantasy NBA who has for many years mostly avoided worrying about the stuff that happens this week every year. But this year, we're looking at it a little bit. Dabbling, because I said I need to soften my stance. But that doesn't mean, and this is actually something that bugs me a lot about sports betting right now. There are so many NBA industry folks that are just like, oh, I know NBA, so now I'm a betting expert. I have to give my betting take on everything. Nah, man, you got to study sports betting for multiple years before I care about anything you have to say on the sports betting front. And so to that end, I don't want to be hypocritical and say, oh, I've spent an hour researching the NBA draft. I'm an expert on it now. I'm not. I'm more than willing to admit that I am not an expert on the NBA draft, but we have them here around Ethos. They exist across the NBA landscape, and so it's my job to bring them to you, even if I sound like a little bit of a jackass doing it. And that is what the week is about. I am humbled by how little I know about rookies, and I'm okay with that. My dad always used to say, I'm comfortable in my shortcomings. And my mom always used to say, shut up. I'm Dan Vespers for Fantasy NBA Today. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. Back at you tomorrow, Wednesday. Same time, same place, but not always the same time. Later.
You made it. Here. Finally. Checked out of office to check into the sweet views of that place you've always wanted to go. You know the one. It's nice. Even the kids like it.
This place is so cool.
And they never like it.
Mom, can we go to the pool?
Look at that. Not even asking for the Wi-Fi. When you're with Amex, it's not if it's going to happen, but when. American Express. Don't live life without it.
Introducing Under Armour's Infinity High Sports Bra. Its ergonomic design is molded to support the natural movement of your body. With cord-out padding, the better breathability eliminates extra bulk without sacrificing support. And quick-dry padding is Under Armour's fastest-drying padding yet. When you're lifting heavy, running fast, and pushing yourself further than ever before, you need a bra that will help you go that extra mile and make you feel your best. Shop the Infinity High Sports Bra now at UA.com.